Hello, everybody. This is Rona, and I'm here with Aaron Hedges. And he leads our exercise group I was telling y'all about before. And he's going to talk about his journey to better health and how he lost weight and what he's doing now. Thank you for being on here, Aaron.
Oh, you bet. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you so much.
So he's also a member of a band.
that comes into play on my health journey. That's for sure.
Yeah. Called Crawl Puppies. I looked them up. They're good.
Well,
I
thank
looked them up on YouTube.
I'm up after my daddy a little bit. My daddy played too.
Did he? Oh,
He
that's
did.
neat.
He was more famous than I am. That's for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll have to turn you on to his band was the Giants with the J.
Oh, wow. How
And
cool.
they had a hit back in the late '50s called Tornado, and it was a gold album then, but now it's bigger than it ever was. When he was alive, it's like in commercial. It's in a Kia commercial. It's in a movie, but it didn't get real popular until the rockabilly bands took that old rock and roll and made it into a rockabilly tune. So it's interesting to Google all the bands that cover it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. So, how did you start your journey into weight loss?
Well, I have to kind of tell a story. My dad plays a big part of it.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to be 50 here in a little less than a week, and most people that know me and have known me for years, they knew me like this, and then I basically just kind of, in my 20s, I was playing. I've been in the same band for over 25 years, and
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I forgot.
but through that time, I mean, I was always a skinny kid. And then once I got in my 20s and I discovered playing music and late night eating and drinking alcohol and you're the party and so my weight came on real gradual and it was all on my stomach and my face, but it came on so slowly that you just think and I was getting into my 30s, you just think it's old age and it's you know that's just what happens when you get older. Your metabolism slows down, they say, so come 2003, 2004, I still had never experienced a death in the family.
Oh.
A lot of people have, when they're born, but I had never experienced it, so it was a pretty traumatic time, and of course I was still, at this time I was still a rock star, so to speak. Our first album came out and whatever, local mostly, I mean, but it is getting out there. But anyway, so my dad got diagnosed, and it just came out of the blue where they gave him a maximum of 2 years to live.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Around that time, here my dad is dying. I went through a divorce. I was married before. And then 2 grandparents died, and it's all in this 6-month window.
Oh dear, that's awful, honey.
So it was. I always say, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And when I say that because it was that time where, I probably could have helped my dad, knowing what I know now about fitness and health and supplements and things. But back to that time, at that time, I was just like, man, I don't want to say I was suicidal or anything like that, but it was the most traumatic thing that ever happened. And it happened, like a bullet went off.
Oh, no.
But it did make me do something, though. I had just gotten a doctor checkup, and the doctor said I had high cholesterol and that I should go on a low cholesterol diet. So I just, I'm just like, I love to eat, so I at that time I started doing Atkins, because it was popular at the time. I'm like, any diet that allows me to eat as much meat and cheese and things like that as I could. And I lost 60 pounds just doing that. I mean,
Wow,
I was
that's great.
determined. I mean, there was no. It was like I have control over what I put in my mouth. I have no control over my father passing at this point. I have no control over the divorce. It was all her.
Oh, dear.
Whatever. But
Mm.
that was a long time ago. And then I can't control my grandparents' dying, but I can control what I put in my mouth. You know, some people can or can't. I could, but I did. I had a reason. I'm like, my dad died at 63. That's just entirely too young to die.
Yeah.
He never met my 14-year-old son. He never met my wife that I'm married to now. And so, a reason for this long-winded story is just so you guys can understand where I was at in my journey. Everyone's journey looks different, but I just want to show you how I overcame a lot of what I did. A lot of it was by accident, but bad accident, right? But so then once I lost the weight, I was happy. I wasn't looking for anything or anybody or whatever. I felt really good. And, you know, at that time people were criticizing like, oh man, you can't eat all that meat. You're going to have a heart attack. And I'm like, I don't know all about all that, but man, I feel great. I have more energy than I've ever had. And shortly after that, I met Danielle, my wife as of today, met her and we started going out. And shortly after we had our first child together, my first child, I never had one with my ex-wife, but so when we had Lane, we both were eating for two at that point. So I put all that 60 pounds right back on. So I was back to where I was at. I think I sent you a picture. That picture was around when, you know, that time frame that when my son was born. And then once he was born, she and I just decided, because we were both kind of doing low carb when we met. So we went back to doing that. Then around 2011, June 2011, we started, you know, we were looking for supplements and things. We started taking some supplements, learning about supplements, and found, you know, a group of people that were, you know, also in that wanting to get healthy phase. And that's where I came into the health industry. Is just, I didn't train for it. I have a lot of life experience with, you know, when you're a musician and you don't have access to good food, typically, you know, I'm married with 3 kids. At that time I worked at a music store full time. I played in the band full time. And then I was helping people like you help people, and started doing that. So it was the excuse that people say they don't have time. It totally can have time if they choose to manage their time and actually put the eating as a special thing and find the foods that they like. So in the last 10 years, I haven't put back on, you know, the 70 pounds. Thank heavens. I'm probably about 10 pounds heavier than I was, you know, at my best. You know, the whole you know, quarantine, whatever thing went on, and everybody's stuck in their house. And you know about our workout group, and you know, and it's something that kept me sane this whole last year. You know, working out with you guys, and you know, but the key has been knowing what to eat. You know, and going that direction. So a lot of people will try, they'll experiment with keto, or they'll experiment with, you know, Atkins or South Beach or all these different diets. But to know how fast it's supposed to happen. See, I didn't care how fast it happened. I just did it. And I was foolish. I mean, I weighed myself every day, but I didn't let whatever number popped up, I didn't let it steer me from doing what I set out to do, because I had control over it. I knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. The first time, because I was in my 30s when I did it. So my 40s were my healthiest. I mean, I used to have bad allergies. I used to have really bad back pain. I still have back issues, but again, to have the issues be less at 50 than they were at 30.
That's great, honey.
Pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But all of it came from, again, knowing what to eat, surrounding myself with the right people, learning about supplements from the right people that have my best interest at heart, and not just somebody wanting to sell me something.
Yeah.
I don't like to take stuff in general.
Mm-mm.
But the more with CBD, the more that I started to learn about it and learn what it does, it's really probably the most necessary supplement there is on the planet, because it's not in our food anymore. And that's been probably my, in the last 3 years or so, that's been the thing that has really helped and opened my eyes even more so to what mainstream is teaching with Western, Western medicine and all these other things. There's a lot we can do if we choose to, get past the hump and really document and take their health serious. It really makes a huge difference, and it has for me in my life. Is there anything like questions that you have about anything at all?
Well, I'm still learning about the endocannabinoid system. I've got a lot to learn about that. But I was at my doctor's yesterday with Mama too, and I talked to him about CBD. He's all for it,
That's good.
so I can start taking it. Even though he gave me another heart med. So I'm just kind of in a mess right now as far as I'm not feeling good, and I don't know what's going on
Right.
with my heart and stuff. And I haven't been doing my podcast this week like I have. I just haven't felt good. And but how much CBD should I take? I think I've got the 500. I'm pretty
So
sure it's.
it depends on the person. But just a brief history of the endocannabinoid system and CBD.
Yes, please.
CBD used to be CBD comes
Excuse
from hemp, which comes from the cannabis plant. So you have the cannabis plant, and from the cannabis plant you can branch off and you can get marijuana, which is very high in THC but very low in CBD. And then the hemp plant is very high in CBD and very, very low in THC. So that's where the right CBD oil that we're talking about comes from. It comes from the hemp plant. It's going to be natural. It's going to be processed correctly. There's a bunch of garbage out there. But hemp used to be like everywhere. Prior to 1937, you couldn't go anywhere without finding hemp. Hemp was clothes. Our clothes were made from hemp. We were making cars actually with hemp. Its fibers are stronger than steel in a lot of cases. Doesn't cause pollution to make. Pest resistant. I mean, there's the list goes on and on. So this was a major crop in the U.S. and our animals used to eat it.
Really?
So think about that. So our animals were eating hemp. So if we're eating animals, if we're eating a hamburger or bacon or something from that time period, we're getting CBD. We're getting a little bit of THC. We're getting some of the other cannabinoids, CBG, CBN, and all those other things. So just imagine. So our bodies evolved getting these nutrients, right? These things from the earth. And when they basically banned anything, anything cannabis related. So it didn't matter if it was hemp or cannabis or marijuana. It didn't matter. It was the war on drugs. So they removed it basically from the food chain and made it illegal. 1937. That was the key year.
Oh.
Everything after that, our bodies were still able to kind of figure it out, right? If we don't eat right, our bodies can figure it out, and we can still be alive and sleep and all that stuff. So our bodies eventually just kind of, balanced itself out to not have to have that, massive amount. Now our bodies still produce it naturally to a certain degree. It's a different kind of CBD, but it's an inside made. So our bodies are that smart where they figured out a way to produce, something that our body needed. So then in 1992, another key year, is when they finally assembled or figured out that there was the biggest system in our body that existed, and it's all over. It's called the endocannabinoid system. Only in 1992.
Wow.
So that's weird to me. And I'm not going to go all conspiracy theory on you, but that's just weird to me that as smart as our doctors are, as smart as our healthcare system is, 1992, that's the best they could come up with to discover the largest system in our body. And it attaches to everything. It attaches to our brain. our liver, our digestion. I mean, everything. Those receptors have a hand in. So you add a good quality CBD to your system. All we're doing is bringing something back to our bodies that was taken from us a long time ago. And that's why CBD is the big craze, because you bring it back in, you find out the right amount that works for you, you stay consistent with it, like I'm talking about with eating, and you do it long enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the oil that does all the magic stuff. All the oil does is turn the light switch on in your brain, in your body, and it's like, oh. So if your digestive system's working with one hand behind its back, it's doing a pretty good job. But oh my gosh, give it two hands. Or if you wear glasses, if you wear them like this, it's not too easy to see. But if you straighten out your glasses, then you can see. So that CBD is there to balance your system that's already there. So we're not talking about getting high. We're talking about bringing the hemp plant back into your diet, because you're not going to get it from any of the foods. If you're vitamin D deficient, go out in the sun, right? You can go out in the sun, you can absorb some vitamin D, you can buy a supplement or whatever and do that. But the only way to get good quality CBD in your system as of today is basically through the oil that you help share with people. So I can't make any medical claims on what it's done directly for me or my wife, but it was something that she was ailing from. And that she'll never cure it, so to speak, but she can minimize it. But we tried two different ones before we found the one that you and I both use, and we didn't realize. And she was religious with it. I mean, she took it every day. She did what these people told her. The first people tried to sell her a vape, and it kept her up all night when she was trying to sleep. So so the vape shop doesn't know what they're talking about, even though they've been selling this kind of stuff for a long time. So they didn't know what they were talking about. So then she got some from a functional medicine doctor, because we weren't really doing the Western medicine approach to what she's got going on. And she did that for a couple of months, and it didn't do anything. So then we found the one that you and I did, and learned a lot. Before she started taking it, she was taking it the right way. She was taking the right amount. She was doing all of those right things. And in 3 weeks, some people it takes a lot less, right? Some people notice right away, but in 3 weeks, because she did it like the book, boom, it was like a light switch went on, and she felt 80% better than when she started. So that's what got us involved and excited about CBD, not because it was something we could sell, but because we had tried two other ones, and then basically we realized that whatever this particular one is, this is, CBD in general is a big craze, but this one is the one that is going to really help people, because, once we were explained, because it's just a simpler oil. It's extracted correctly. It's there's no nonsense in it. It's medium price. It's not the most expensive oil out there, but it's not the cheapest. And they get the help from people like you and me, to where we care about them, and we want them to succeed, and we'll stick with them and answer questions. But the people at the gas stations, they're not going to answer your questions, or nor do they know much about it. So
no, I made a point to, with my memory, it's hard sometimes to remember stuff, but while I was there, I made a point to ask him. I took him some coffee, like I've been everywhere I go. But anyway, and he was excited about that. But I asked him about the CBD with the meds I'm on and stuff. He said, "Yeah, go ahead and take it." He likes CBD. I love him. He's a wonderful doctor. He's young. But
that's great. That's great that he supports something like that, because most doctors won't. Not everybody can take CBD, no matter what meds they're on. So they really got to be careful. Find a good doctor that supports it, because there's doctors out there that won't even treat you if you're taking CBD, and you can think about the reasons all you want, but it's like, why do some doctors are totally okay with it, and then other doctors won't even talk to you if you're taking it? There's something to be said about that.
Well, he's really good, and I talked my mom into going to him, and she's been going to him a few years now, and she wished she'd have listened to me before. but excuse me, he's all for it. So I'll just have to experiment with it, and I'll probably have to order me another bottle. I may get a stronger bottle. What is it? The 500, and then what's the next
500,
one?
750, and then 1500.
I think
And
we got to 500. I may get the 750 and start maybe 4 drops 3 times a day or something.
how many drops of the 500 are you doing?
I'm not. I haven't because of my meds.
Oh,
I
I
was
got you.
afraid until I talked to him.
Gotcha.
Y-
So yeah,
So,
I would start with, the bottle. Basically 500 is a lower amount,
mhm,
and for the things that you're taking it for, I
mhm.
would say you would be fine to even start with just a half a drop, or so that's about 15 or 20 drops
Oh,
um,
okay.
in the morning, and then same thing at night. If you're taking it for different things that you may want to start small, but that's typically for people that get anxious feelings.
Oh,
They
yeah, I have
don't,
that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But everybody's different. I mean, it's very rare. It's not something you can really OD on. In order
yeah.
to, you'd have to literally consume a thousand bottles of that 500 to even get close to what marijuana has in it, THC wise. So it's
Okay.
not something that's going to hurt you, and it's something that uh, it's got to be consistent. When I lost a good amount of weight, I did it in a very short amount of time. But if I wasn't religious and consistent with it, it would have taken much longer, and I would have gotten disheartened much faster.
Mhm.
So the key is to know. I guess the key to good health at this point, for anybody that's watching, is surround yourself. We do a workout every single morning, Monday through Friday, in the morning, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything to get in and do that. And a lot of times we just work out, but there's people that come in new that need help with their eating. So sometimes we'll talk about that stuff while we're doing an exercise, and it's an exercise that everybody can do. I'm usually the youngest person in there in that group.
Quit bragging.
Oh, stop! But it's all doable. It's all doable stuff.
Right.
And
Okay.
you're surrounding yourself with some people that really care,
Yes.
because there's no dollar sign attached to our relationship.
Mm-mm.
So whenever there's a dollar sign attached, whether it be big pharma, whether it be doctors or whatever, you got to know that there's crooked doctors out there too. There's
Oh, I
people that
know.
want a bunch of money, but it's good to find a good doctor. But so knowing that you want to change your diet, and knowing what that looks like, it doesn't look like what you typically think, and it can happen quicker or in different ways than you possibly think. So you have to come in with an open mind, be willing to make some changes. A lot of times when I talk to people, I say, hey, because they're talking about, they're gung ho, they're ready to go first 5 days, and they say, well, what I got to do? I say, well, what do you like to eat? And they'll go on and tell me different things. And I say, well, okay. So we come in a halfway medium point, and they like, they like meat, or they like, cheese or various things. And I say, well, let's do this for 5 days. And they're like, well, I don't know if I could do this. I said, listen, 5 days. I said, you might even feel a little weird because you're changing what you normally eat. When you detox your brain from sugar, sugar's like cocaine. I mean, it triggers your brain the same way. So if you stop eating excess amounts of sugar, you can get some headaches. But I tell people, I say, hey, do you ever get to plan when you get sick?
No.
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 And when you get sick, do you get sick have you ever been sick for 3 days? You ever been sick for a week? You ever been sick for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So they say, oh yeah, I had mono that was one time, and I was down for a couple of weeks. I'm like, okay. I said, so I'm telling you now that day 2 or day 3 might be a little tough, and you might get some headaches. Here's the difference. When you get sick, you feel miserable for the whole entire time, pretty much. And then at the end of it, are you healthier? No, you're back to where you started. You feel human again, right? You can actually function.
Yeah.
So with what I'm proposing to people to do, I'm asking them what they like to eat. So I'm picking foods that they like to eat. I'm just having them avoid certain foods that aren't going to serve a purpose. And in 5 days, if they've done what I've said, anybody can do anything for 5 days.
Yes.
It really could. There's no scenario I've ever come across, whether it be shift work, whether it be playing in a band, whether it be a mom of five. I helped a single mother of five lose 130 pounds.
You're kidding.
How was she able to do it? Because she stuck to her guns. She had someone to help keep her accountable or whatever. I wasn't making, any kind of crazy money off or anything. She was buying a product here, every month or whatever, but nothing major. And that was her choice. But she learned a lot of things. She learned that she could go the 5 days without coffee, for example, for that particular deal that we were doing. She didn't do coffee for 5 days, and she never imagined that she could function without coffee. But after the 5 days, she lost the average weight loss during that 5 days is like 4 to 7 pounds.
Wow.
And I want to say she lost more than that, but she had all these non-scale and all these victories started happening very quickly. Or very quick, however you want, if grammar police.
I'm no grammar police.
She saw results quick. She had a ton of outpouring support for the journey, and she lost all that weight and looks amazing and is doing great. But it was all because she was willing to make a change, and she was willing to do what I said for 5 short days. In 5 days, if somebody didn't lose any weight, they could go right back to doing and join do some other, do some kind of fad diet or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But she stuck to her guns for 5 days. I have never had someone do the 5 days or the 2 weeks or the month and do it, in a way that was comfortable for them long term. Like, right? I mean, nobody wants to feel like they feel on day 2 or day 3. They got withdrawal from sugar or whatever. But the longer she did it, the more energy she got.
Mm-hmm.
The healthier she got. So it was, if it didn't happen that way, if you just kind of went on a lifestyle change, or you kind of started doing this, or you kind of started doing that, and you start dabbling in all these different things, you're not teaching your body what you are going to do. And that's true with CBD. You have to teach your body that it's going to be there all the time, so it can make the adjustments it needs to make to put your body in the most pristine possible state it can be in. Your age has really nothing to do with it. Your predisposition with what you inherit from family is not a factor as much as people think it is. Because here's the thing with heredity. When you grow up, your parents fed you a certain way, did they not?
Mm-hmm.
You're from the South, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of taters, right?
Oh yeah.
A lot of meat and taters and biscuits and all those kind of things.
Oh, biscuits and gravy, Lord have mercy.
Oh yeah, biscuits and gravy. So as you get older, you eat those things still, because that's what you used to eat, and that's what your body and your brain is conditioned to want, because that's what it's used to. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about biscuits and you're talking about potatoes and things like that, those are high in carbs, it's sugars. So if you don't have it, if you don't eat it, it's going to be weird, and it's not going to be fulfilling and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but when you stop doing that stuff long enough, even though, because if your mama ate that way, or your daddy ate that way, and then you're eating that way, and their parents ate that way, it just keeps getting passed on. So what you inherit are your food choices. We inherit our food choices because, and I'm not saying there's a direct correlation. I'm simply saying my dad died at 63 years old. Mm. When I was 33 years old, I felt like I was 73 years old. And now that I'm about to turn 50, I am healthier now at 50 than I was in my 30s.
That's wonderful, honey.
So the odds of me living longer than I was kind of slated out to be,
right,
the better my chances. Now, my dad's dad, he was the oldest identical male twin in Indiana before he died. Him and his brother were 96 years old.
Oh.
So he lived that long, and he passed. But now, my grandfather grew up during a time when hemp was in our food.
Oh, that's right. See, I didn't know that about the hemp being in the food and stuff back then.
Right.
So I'm learning.
that was the key. That was the key, is learning the food, learning, and being open to trying that, because at that point my life was, I should have still appreciated the fact that I had my band and I was working and all that kind of stuff. The pandemic definitely taught me appreciation for the things that I do have,
Yes,
what I don't have.
exactly. Yes,
But that was another time in my life where I learned to appreciate and really focus on my health. I mean, my best tricks: learn what to eat, alarms. We carry this stupid thing everywhere, right?
right.
So I still have food alarms that go off every single time I'm supposed to eat, or do something important. So if you're not remembering to take CBD oil, for
Yeah, I
example,
need to do that. I need to set alarms for that because I cannot remember.
and you set it once and you forget about it. So if you typically go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock, or maybe 3 a.m. like I did. I mean, I used to, sometimes I'd be up for 24 hours, but I still was able to eat right, and because I knew how to overcome being up for that long, because you can't just eat 3 times in a day when you're up for 24 hours. You still need fuel, but you need the right fuel.
Yeah.
But those repeat alarms are probably the best trick in the book for knowing what to do that's important. So if all you're doing, if you're not changing your diet or doing anything, and you really just, all you're doing is taking CBD, set an alarm for when you get up, which a lot of us, a lot of people have to set an alarm to get up in the morning. Set that alarm, and then that reminds you. Put that CBD oil on your nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you take it. Right. Don't
Right.
eat or drink or brush your teeth within 15 to 30 minutes after doing those drops. Take the drops the right way. Right. There's a right way to take them. You don't just squirt them in your mouth and swallow, because you want to hold it under your tongue for at least a minute, then swallow it, because that's going to absorb in your bloodstream better.
Okay.
And then you set those repeat alarms. All you got to do is set that 7 a.m. alarm, which you might already have one, and then just, it's on the nightstand. Make sure you take it, because it's gonna help you out. And then at nighttime before bed, you're gonna take another half a dropper of what you're taking, and you're gonna set an alarm for that, even though you got to go to bed. But the alarm is going to remind you, oh, but besides going to bed, because maybe I'm getting tired, maybe I need help sleeping, I'll remember to take that second serving. And those alarms, once you set them, they're never, ever, ever, ever going to let you forget that they're there.
Yeah.
As long as you set it on repeat, set it for the same times.
Mm-hmm.
And now, for like my food alarms during the day, I would set alarms to remember to eat. And people are like, to remember to eat? I'm always hungry. Yeah, but when you're busy, I mean, I didn't have a lunch break at my day job when I worked my day job. And we just worked. And if there's food, there, and you didn't eat it until you weren't helping somebody. So you went, and then you ate whenever you could. So if I could eat, and I wouldn't eat what the guys brought to lunch anymore, I would eat what I brought instead of what they were having, because they were typically eating some bad fast food version, which I later learned there are good fast food versions of things you can eat. But when that alarm went off, and let's say I was with a customer, I would hit snooze on it like a real alarm clock.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hit stop. I would hit snooze, because otherwise I would forget, and I would go hours, and I'm like, gosh, I haven't eaten anything. And then we get in starvation mode, and then we get stressed, and all these bad things happen. So I made sure that I would snooze that alarm until I had the 3 minute, maybe I'd snooze it 2 or 3 times or whatever. But then at that point, if a new customer comes in, it's like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. There's nothing wrong with going to the bathroom. So instead of going to the bathroom, I would go and I would eat my, my snack, or my meal that only takes literally 5 minutes to eat. It really only takes 5 minutes to eat those real easy things. And I'd be back, and I'd be right back. But it would keep me on track and consistent. Consistency is the key, right?
Right. Well, would you be willing to come back again and talk some more?
Yeah,
About,
on specific topics. Yeah, it was kind of a whole
yes.
lot of things at one time, but absolutely.
Yeah. We can talk about it, and I'd love to have you back on, and because I've really enjoyed it. I haven't been too active, but I've really enjoyed listening to you, and I've learned a lot.
For
But
sure.
I'd like to have you back on. We can talk about it off air.
Would love it.
But well, thank you a lot, Aaron.
You betcha.
And I'll talk to you later, honey.
All
You
right.
have a
Next
good
round.
day.
Everybody have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
You betcha.
Bye, honey.
Bye.